COVID-19 changed how we learn, work, and connect with each other. While the pandemic fast-tracked our shift to remote life, we were already headed in that direction, slowly becoming more and more online over the years. And deaf people are typically ahead of the curve when it comes to using technology to improve our lives through communication and sharing information. Just think of TTY's texting and video phones. Related to online learning, we noticed that even before COVID, there was an increase in numbers of deaf students taking classes online. In 2016, about 45% of deaf students took at least one course online, while 17% completed their entire program online. Many deaf people have jobs, family obligations, and children, and it's not easy for us to pick up and move just anywhere. In some situations, deaf people have fewer options. Online learning in a virtual space allows more options and added flexibility to make decisions that best fit our lives. In essence, it gives us more autonomy. The past year and a half have accelerated the growth of online work, learning, and life, in that some things have become more accessible. For example, when we order pickup at a restaurant, we no longer have to call through VRS because the system is now designed to fit our communication. Many webinars and conferences held online already include captioning and interpreters without the need of making a special request. These shifts have been a welcome improvement, but of course, not everything is accessible. At NDC, our job is to share information, new resources, and answer your questions. Our help team is truly our front line, addressing issues that come in from all over the nation. During the first 2 months of the pandemic, questions coming into our help team more than doubled. Many of those questions were related to technology and online access. We received questions covering a host of topics. Some of those questions were about automatic speech recognition, or ASR. Many colleges, universities, and training programs were using these auto captions in place of human captioners. We also noted many questions related to HIPAA and confidentiality when hosting telehealth sessions and clinical practicum courses with a remote service provider. There were concerns of HIPAA violations. Faculty expressed uncertainty about intellectual property. The content of the lectures they develop belongs to them, yet needs to be recorded and shared for other purposes. We also had many questions such as how to ensure optimal access for video conferences. Can VRS be used in the virtual classroom? And how do we provide services to deaf-blind students? Visit our website to view these and more frequently asked questions along with the answers. Many deaf students have reached out to us over the past year frustrated with their online learning experience, not because they're incapable or because they don't have the skills, but because they're not receiving the accommodations they need to succeed in their college experience. One thing I've noticed over the past year is a lack of shared commitment to access. A common belief is that a deaf person is responsible to manage access, and if not the deaf person, a staff member or singular office. Depending on the setting, it is a common concept to believe the responsibility lies on the interpreter coordinator, itinerant teacher, the disability services office, or even HR. But we know that effective access must be a system-wide commitment. One example I can give is the IT office. They are often responsible for purchasing training programs and learning management systems. Those systems and platforms are often not accessible. An IT department may require a particular communication system that isn't always accessible to everyone. Then, when IT can't provide access-related support, the burden is once again on the deaf person. When access is a shared commitment, the entire process is vastly improved. Access is built in from the beginning, not an afterthought or a problem to be fixed later. As we continue to think about tele-access, we must use a systems approach. Access is a shared commitment, not something one person or one office must bear, and it certainly isn't the sole burden of the deaf person. Another important thing to consider is what the future of virtual life looks like for deaf people and the deaf community at large. We have to remember that not all deaf people have access to the internet or the equipment required for internet access. The U.S. Census American Community Survey provided data in the year 2019. They looked at people across the United States, ages 21 through 64, to gain a better understanding of who doesn't have access to the internet or the required equipment. Compared to the hearing population, deaf people are twice as likely to not have access to the internet or required equipment. It's clear we cannot move forward assuming everyone has the same level of access to the internet. NDC has worked closely with state leaders and colleges and universities all over the U.S. to see how they've addressed this issue. Some state agencies have programs that provide equipment to deaf people. Some have extra funds available due to the reduction in travel because of the pandemic. So this year they have reallocated those funds to purchase equipment so that students have access to classes, trainings, webinars, and continued education online. We learned of agencies partnering with different companies to provide laptops to deaf people. There are colleges across the U.S. who have been able to loan equipment and Wi-Fi hotspots to students in need. When VR has funds available, they can provide equipment and internet access for continued education and training. The FCC also has an emergency broadband benefit program that supports access to the internet. The question is, how can we ensure that deaf people know about these resources? How can organizations continue to think outside the box to ensure we provide support through equipment and internet access? These are paramount as our world is becoming increasingly virtual. Back to an earlier point, when it comes to working and learning online, we value having options, greater flexibility, and the increase in autonomy. It begs the question, how can we maintain those values moving forward while not assuming that everyone has equal access to the internet? As we move forward into the future, we must consider how to keep deaf people involved in this conversation. When we consider online spaces and what they may look like, as I mentioned earlier, we deaf people are experts with this technology. For example, back when we all used TTYs, we began using slang like GA, SK, and BRB. Those innovative tools have now become a part of how the entire world communicates through text, and it started with the deaf community. How can we make sure that deaf people are at the table for this conversation and ensure that they are contributors to the future of online life? How can we be certain that deaf-blind and deaf-disabled people are also a part of this exchange? It is essential that Black, Latinx, and Asian deaf people are all a part of this conversation. It's a shared commitment within our community. When everyone is a part of this conversation, it spurs on deeper thinking. The goal should not be to just provide access. That's a good enough bare minimum approach. But we want to provide real options, real flexibility. I don't think we quite know what that looks like yet, and I don't think we've maximized the potential of today's available technology. For example, one challenge we have seen in our work is that students struggle with finding an interpreter who has the right expertise and background for the job. Deaf students in specialized programs have trouble finding an interpreter who is a good fit and who will be a consistent interpreter throughout their studies. Deaf medical students in particular benefit from interpreters who have some type of medical background. Black deaf students need Black interpreters. Are schools truly capitalizing on remote services to find interpreters outside of the local area? I'm not sure. Can we do more? I hope the future shows us that we can think outside the box and not plug and play what is traditionally happening in the classroom and assume it will work when it moves online. Let's instead maximize the opportunities that are there and continue to provide deaf people with the options, flexibility, and autonomy we need.